better. And
well, Calpine Capital Management President Gary Calpine joins us, Independent Women's Foreign Policy Director Hadley, Heath, Manning. Welcome, guys. Gary, to you on what the market is telling us. Obviously, it sees nothing but clear blue skies ahead. There are ways you could look at the valuations of this market. If earnings live up to the optimism that they're getting on the street, this isn't such a pricey market going into the new year. Your thoughts?
Well, I do think it's pricey, but I have to tell you, I think the economy's accelerating. I think earnings are going to be back, I think probably high single digits, and maybe even better because all the uncertainty of trade is off at this, hopefully at this juncture. And I have to add that Boeing is 798 Dow points from its high of last year. So if that tragedy didn't happen, we'd probably be over the 30,000 right now. And if they do get their act together, I would suspect that thing would be on the run. So I think we'll get 30,000. The bigger story for me is the NASDAQ and technology, just absolutely sizzling. And overall, that's where the big growth is, and that's where I put my feet.
Hadley, what do you think of that?
Well, the 30,000-foot view, if you'll pardon the pun, is that our stock market is strong, as well as our broader economy. The stock market is not the economy, but they're related, and fortunately for Americans right now, both are very strong. If you have a retirement plan or retirement account, if there's a charitable endowment or a university with an endowment, this is all beneficial when the stock market booms. That's what we're seeing. So we're seeing effects throughout our economy. A strong labor market means Americans are at work. Housing boom means we're building and buying houses. Tax cuts means we're keeping more of the hard-earned dollars that we get at our jobs. So there's a lot of good news here.
You know, housing finally seems to be joining the parade here, Gary. Housing starts up close to 17% of the latest period. That represents a 13-year high. I always think that housing starts are an important barometer because you don't start them unless you're convinced that you can sell them or have already sold them. So that shows a lot of optimism there. What do you think?
It feeds down into the economy. That's construction, and imagine all the things you put into a home to build it. And I can tell you right now, the housing stocks are now at a yearly high. Names like Lowe's, yearly high, and a bunch of things that you put into your house at yearly highs. So the market is speaking pretty much loud and clear. And you know, Neil, I've been hearing the story that, a lot of people don't own stocks. But I have news for you. Even people that don't own stocks benefit because we're at 3.5% unemployment because the market is reflecting the good things that are going on. Plus, of course, you got all the pensions and all the 401ks that are working well. So I think we're in this virtuous cycle. I keep fingers crossed that it continues. And you have, all this liquidity from central banks doing the trick, which also helps. So I think we still have the wind at our back right now.
When it comes to stock ownership, too, I subscribe to the view that if you don't own it, chances are your boss does. And if your boss is happy with what he or she is seeing, you should be happy. What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely, Neil. I mean, we're not just islands floating in an ocean here. We're all connected. And, of course, as you see more consumer spending, you've got more fuel for the fire. There's really not a lot of bad news to find in this economy. What's interesting is that we do see this pattern where the stock market tends to do very well when Congress is on recess. And, of course, Congress hasn't been on recess recently, but they have been very laser focused on impeachment. They haven't been making major changes to economic policy. So maybe that gives investors some certainty or some comfort. But certainly, I think the overall trend here, and many of the things Gary said I agree with. We're all related. The labor market very strong. This is all good news for Americans sitting at home. They should feel very confident, and polling suggests that Americans do feel confident and optimistic at this point about our economy. All
right, we'll see how that translates politically. But guys, thank you both very, very much. The Dow right now up about 32 1/3 points. We're at 29,330, so about 670 points